saying we don't know anything about the variables, just assume nothing in that case. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with question number 2. And I'll do the same trick as last time. I will use this window, turn it smaller, and then have the other one to scroll so that we can see the question. Doesn't really show that well. Let me do it again. There we go. Okay, so we have the question here, and then I'll just work on the solution here. So in this case, since I did not give you a precondition, it won't take you too much time, but it will be helpful, okay, just in case, to state that since pre1 is not given, it is assumed true, okay, just in case. So now we can actually work on the answer. Pre1 is true, and okay, so what is the next statement? What is the next pre that we have to deal with in this case? Do we have a post 1 to deal with in this case? Nope. Okay, according to the class notes, we don't deal with post 1. We do have to deal with pre 2. Yep.
But if pre 1 is true, don't we say post 1 x has to be greater than y?
We don't call it post 1, we call it pre 2. The reason why I don't call it post 1 is because when you have a branch, when you say post 1, it means, what do we know after line 1? But after line 1, there are 2 places to go. One place is to go to line 2, and one is to go to line 4. So post 1 does not tell me which way I'm talking about. It simply says after line 1. And pre 2 and pre 4 are more accurate descriptions. One is saying, what do we know right before the then branch? And the other one is saying, what do we know right before the else branch? Okay, so what do we know about pre-2? Pre-2 is based on pre-1, and also the condition itself is true. I would say it is important to mention pre-1 here because pre-1 may not always be true. In the case it is true, yes, it's trivial because true and anything is just anything. But in the case that it is not true, it is important to at least mention it so that you won't forget and oversimplify things when it's not supposed to. And once we mention that, we can just do the simplification. If someone gives me this particular answer, I will consider that a full answer, receiving full score already. The simplification is nice, but it is optional. Personally, I like to simplify it just so that it is easier to see. It's more intuitive. And the same thing we can do the same thing to pre-4. Now, the order is entirely up to you. Some people may want to just finish one whole branch first. In other words, you'll work out pre-2 and then work out post-2. That's fine. If you want to work the way that I do, pre-2, pre-4, and then post-2, post-4, that's fine too. There's no relationship between post-2 and post-4, so the order to derive those two, it's entirely up to you guys. But sorry? Pre-4 is pre-1 again, but this time the condition is false. Now, I understand again, that most people can see this and say, oh, I know right away, x is less than or equal to y. But once again, I will do the negation first, just so that I can show clearly why x is less than or equal to y. So after the simplification, we get x is less than or equal to y just by itself. Do we have any questions so far? Nope. Okay. So now we can work out, what is post-2. Now to work out post-2, we have to mention those things that we usually mention when we deal with conditional statements. So then we can say the right-hand side of line 2 refers to the left-hand side. The right-hand side, give it a function name, call it f of x, is x minus 30, has an inverse of f prime of x, which is x plus 30. Are we okay so far? Once the right-hand side refers to the left-hand side, you still have to mention that it is reversible, and this is the inverse function. The inverse function is useful because we'll use it in the substitution operation. So this is as you work on it step by step, you're actually getting to the solution also. So with all these, then we can say we can use the substitution rule or the substitution mechanism. Either way, it's fine. So post2 now is the result of the substitution operation applied to pre2. We find occurrences of the variable on the left-hand side, which in this case is x, and replace every single one of those with f prime of x. The next step is to expand this particular statement. Pre2 is x is greater than y, and we want to find occurrences of x and replace those with x plus 30. And after the substitution, you have x plus 30 is greater than y. Okay? There's no need to simplify. If someone gives me x plus 30 is greater than y, or better yet, true and x plus 30 is greater than y, which is the original form of everything, that's fine. And then you can say the same thing about line 4. So the right-hand side of line 4 refers to the left-hand side. The right-hand side, g of x. Use a different letter so that we can differentiate, which function we're talking about. And this time it's not g of x, it's g of y. Is y minus 10 as an inverse of f prime, g prime of y, which is y plus 10. Are we okay so far? Okay. I'm going to save this so so you don't have to worry too much about the details. It's the concept that is the most important part. And then we can say use the sub rule. So post 4 once again depends on the substitution rule. Based on the pre-4, we replace y in this case with g prime applied to y. Remember the variable. Sometimes remember which variable we're dealing with and also which function we're dealing with. Okay, because you don't want to just copy and paste it. But this is actually one nice thing about having it done by hand. When you do it on a computer, copy and paste, a lot of times you will forget to change those little things. But when you actually have to rewrite the entire thing, it will be less likely that you'll copy verbatim from whatever you have about. And then there's a substitution of pre-4, which is x is less than or equal to y. Replace y with y plus 10. And after the substitution, we have x is less than or equal to y plus 10. Just like that. Any questions so far about post 2 and post 4? Now, once that we have post 2 and post 4, how do we get to post 5? Post 5 is post 2 or post 4. Are we still okay with that concept? When after you merge from the two branches of a conditional statement, it becomes the disjunction of the two post conditions. Because we don't know which way we come from, but we know that we have to come from we have to come from one branch. The post condition of that branch has to be true. Yep.
On the right-hand side of line 4, down a little bit, it's the second line, and on the fourth line, use G instead of F. Was that just using a different?
Yep. Just to be clear, because earlier we used F here. If I used F here, it would be a little bit more confusing. So picking a different letter makes it more clear. But it's mostly just for clarity purposes. So now you just have to expand. And this is one place where copy and paste is handy because I'm just copying and pasting verbatim instead of making any more changes at this point. And yes, I have extra parentheses, but they do not hurt. So I can just let them be there. And that's it. That's the answer.
It's the first time we've done that. It's the first time we've done that where we skip lines, I think.
Skip lines?
Yeah, because I don't know. I thought we did it in sequence, like pre-1, okay, or pre-2 equals post-1, and then pre-3 equals post-2, and then I've never seen it go from pre-post-1 to post-4, just straight up.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely in the notes.
Yeah.
So if you have been reading the notes, it's already there. This is basically a recap of doing everything that's already in quote unquote the book. But I did make a mistake here. I don't know where the post to come from. I think I wrote it before, but that's the answer. The text actually gives you, a template. It explains why the template works. So you got to make sure that you read the text as well as reading the sample code or all the examples that we do in the class. Okay. Any other questions? No questions? Now, just like with the practice test, the third one, yep, go ahead.
Why is it simplified to and from or from post to or post for to?
Oh, you're right. My bad. Good eyes. That's definitely an or. Very good. Very good. Why is it an or? Yep, go ahead.
I just have so it's okay on the exam for us to just be using spell out or and not using
Yes,
the symbols?
absolutely. Whatever you're comfortable with. I think someone actually asked me, can I use C notations? And I think my answer to that person is, as long as you use it consistently, it's fine. Yep. So you can use, the math symbol. You can use, C notation. You can use, and versus or. Anything that I can understand is fine. For those of you who know how to write, Chinese characters, if you use the Chinese character version of the and or, that will also be okay. But don't complain and say, well, how come those people have that, special advantage, because I don't know how to write Chinese. Trust me, you don't want to. Because in Chinese, or, which is easy in English, is this character. Okay, if you prefer this, that's fine with me, and it's a little bit easier, it's this character. So, it's up to you. If you guys want to do it, since this is going to be done on paper, if you guys say, I want to try the Chinese version, that's fine.
Extra credit?
Yeah.
Extra credit. I can see someone making, stickers, tiny little stickers with lots and lots of the ands and the ors. So whenever they need one, they just peel one and go, tick, stick. That'd be kind of cute. Okay, question 3 is the really, really nasty one. Observe the pseudocode in Q2 in question number 2. So we're going to reuse the same code here, assuming post 5 is already known, okay? I stopped the program's execution, I took a snapshot, and at the time, I can tell that x equals 30 and y equals 30. So the question is, what do I know about pre-1? In other words, can I work my way back, knowing the result of the entire conditional statement, can I work my way back and know something about pre-1? Now, in nature, it is kind of similar to the one in the previous practice test. This one is definitely difficult, okay? I think I might have mentioned it, maybe not to this class, but to my other class. Did I mention it to this class? I sent an email to the entire class saying that there's one more practice exam. And I mentioned that question number 3 is really, really harder than the other one. So don't worry about it. I just want you guys to kind of understand the approach, okay? I won't ask you anything quite this difficult in the actual test, but it's a good exposure. Okay, but can we do it? Is it possible? Well, when you think about something like this, it does not hurt to draw a picture. Now, since this is not done online, you guys also have the added advantage of being able to draw pictures on a piece of paper and turn it in as part of your answers. Okay? In other words, you can do exactly what I do on the whiteboard and turn that in as well. Okay. So the first thing is, we draw a little picture of our conditional statement. If you know how to draw a proper flow chart, use a flow chart. I can read that too. Okay. But this is a typical conditional statement, and then we'll say x is greater than y is the condition. Here's a true branch. Here is a false branch. We also have the 2 statements in the inside. One is